Good morning. I'm in West Lafayette, Indiana, right now. So this is one of my favorite cafe where I come in the morning sometimes to work on my research. I also like the space because it is pretty quiet, and this is beginning of winter. It's pretty cold outside, and I have been thinking about continuing to make some videos about um, some of my ideas, some of my opinions. Um, I have been wanting to um, spread the kind of information that I have that empowers me as a person, um, which can be valuable for everybody. Uh, but definitely, you will be the judge for the information that influence you in some way. Uh, I hope positively. So this is also a very important time. It is in 2019, and I believe a lot of things uh, are changing in United States in the sense how the American politics is rolling. We all know the Trump is the president right now, and in many ways, it's a nightmare in terms of how white nationalism is in rise. Also, how people legally living in this country feel towards certain kind of policies, harassment towards people who are contributing to society in very significant way, and people are more divided, and that has become a political discussion, um, and everyone wants to change it for good, and everyone has the intention, and different communities have their own priorities. um, but every community wants good for them, and the problem is what they believe to be good for their own community uh, maybe not accurate all the time, and they have false information, or they have lack of information about what's going on across the country and across the whole world. And that's why it's very important to spread the facts, or the right kind of information that help people to decide for themselves and help people to encourage think critically. So one few important things that have uh, that has become very prominent for me, because I have been traveling many cities. I have started traveling. There was this phase of years where I haven't really traveled, but it's very unfortunate to see that this country, which is the strongest economy in many ways, still has a large number of population which pretty much living below the poverty line, and there's many people who are suffering. And if you are doing well, if you are if you have everything that's going well for you, uh, it's not maybe it doesn't concern you that much, but at the same time you live and you see this, and that's where the compassion should come into the play. Is that, do you want to live in a society where things are not fair, or where things where people are suffering. Because I come from a background where um, there are a lot of sufferings, where there are lack of opportunities, and I know a lot of things cannot change there for a lot of reasons. But when you have the power to change, when you have the resources to change in a place like here in America, why will you not take the opportunity to change it? And that's where comes the right kind of intention. If you have the intention to bring changes, if you really think the danger of some of the ideas versus if you know the merits of some of the ideas which can change people's life in a positive way, you should be thinking about the positive changes, and you should be inspired to bring them. Then why is it not happening in United States? In many ways, it's the rhetoric being spreaded by the media, or it's probably just simply that everybody is an individual island, and uh, people just don't know what they can do individually sometimes, and or people maybe just simply fed up that nothing changes. But that is not true, and that's why it's interesting, and that's why I agree with um, some of the ideas that maybe this is a revolutionary time in many ways. So what are the ideas that I'm talking about? The question is, in a democratic country which is generating so much wealth, should be able to provide healthcare for all of them, for all the citizens. Uh, in a country like United States, there should not be students who are not being able to educate themselves or being burdened by a student loan. There should not be families who should suffer because of the insurance companies, because of just they have become sick or are going through some medical complications. So the whole point is that, okay, if you are someone who is not going through complication and are doing well, will you take care of the ones who are not doing well? That is the fundamental question here. And I think as a human being living in a society, that's where draws the line that some people uh, want to help other people who are not doing well, versus some people they think that they are entitled to their own success and they just don't want to help others. And as a functioning society, is it's very clear that a society functions well when people um, take care of each other. I mean, in a way, isn't that how human being progressed in many ways? Most of the success came into place, and it's true that there are many ways to bring success, and some people can be against some ideas, and um, definitely personal anecdotes don't always help in a lot of general cases. So the idea of universal healthcare, or the idea that there shouldn't be any homeless people, or people should have some basic human rights, are very important, because as a human being we know that every individual has potential, and most successful people will probably agree that when you're basic, you can only um, you can only do creative work, you can only expand your abilities to do good when you are not worried about living in a in a secured way. And the way we can guarantee that a person is not suffering in his own individual life is simply, generally speaking, is to provide them basic rights. Like if you have enough money to live in a decent house, or enough money to eat properly, enough money um, to have a family, or not worry about your children's education, or not worry about sustaining as a family, that's when you actually become more productive. If you're worrying in your day-to-day life all the time, um, you are worried about yourself, and your productivity level will be low. So hypothetically speaking, if you can make everyone more productive, the society will be better. But that's the challenge, that how can you provide everyone the best possible situation that one person can be. And that's where different policies come into existence. Like we all agree that everybody needs to have a level of education that they require, because things are changing, because whatever was required maybe 20 or 30 years before, where is not enough for you to get a job these days, or uh, the challenges are different, or the economy is heavily global. I mean, my parents, I mean, they were born in a city and only moved to the next city. On the other hand, I have moved from countries to countries. So the population migration, economy, climate, everything is in change. So the solutions that worked before may not work now. So, but at the same time, some of the fundamental things that we know that work, we also need to recognize them. We know some of the solutions that have been followed by communities, that have been followed by countries, which worked for them. So when we have problems, for example, if you have millions of people who are living under poverty line, you have to think about how you can change it. And it seems to me a country like United States should be able to provide universal healthcare. A country like United States should be canceling all student loans. A country like United States, which is responsible for many atrocities due to the war in different region, should be acknowledging what they have done wrong and what they should be doing now to understand the 20 understand the problems of our century, like the climate change problem, like the automation problem, like the migration problem, and to come up with solutions that can do good for everybody, domestically and internationally. And luckily, there are a lot of candidates um, right now who are thinking in the right direction. And interestingly, people um, are also willing to. People also understand. So it's important to have this conversation, and it's easy to it's easy to just it's easy to just ignore everything and and just wait for some miracle happens. But that's not how any progress or any change happens, and that's not how human being came here, with all the progress made by science, with all the progress made by democracy, with all the progress of many kinds. So it's important to spread this information, and that's the reason also I think I am I am thinking about talking out loud and thinking about what I think about my own perspective about the things. Thank you.